Welcome to the Chop Team. I'm your host, Seth the DaChop.
I'm your host, Twins Inc.
Our show is about two guys and any friends that happen to come over with a topic that we want to chop up.
This is our Barbershop style podcast. We discuss it all. If the fellas at the shop will go in on it, we will. Let's chop it up.
What's going on, good people? How everyone's doing today? Seth the DaChop, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, man, it's a wonderful day outside, so I'm great.
Listen, y'all, this is the first show for 2022 that we're both in the same building.
Exactly.
Okay, first couple of ones we was doing remote, XYZ, but we still made it happen. But now we're both in the building at the same time. Glad to have you back in the building, sir.
Yes, sir, I missed it.
Family, everything good so far? Okay.
2022 has been challenging.
We're only, 30 days in the first,
It ain't even, is it 30?
30 days. Say my
like
son's birthday, so 30 days.
For like 2 months.
Shout out to all my Aquariuses out there. You know, mine was January 24th.
Yeah, my mom's was January 26th.
And my son was January 30th, which is today.
Congrats.
Shout out to the Aquarius out there. You know what I mean? Much love to y'all. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well today. We got a good topic here. And I hope you listen to the previous 2 episodes of this year. There's still like a continuation of that. Mm-hmm. And you see the topic, what's really good?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the community.
Exactly.
And Seth our child, I want you to go lead off because I know where you're coming from with this. So let's talk to the people real quick, sir.
Well, you know what? And once again, shout out to where I got the idea from. O'Shea Duke Jackson.
Salute.
He said something. It was just a couple of lines on one of his shows a couple of weeks ago that actually had, started me thinking about this. When you start saying what's really good, that's the question. What's really good? Because I was talking to someone, they were like, oh yeah, I want to move into a good neighborhood. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So when I was like, what's a good neighborhood? In the description of the neighborhood she gave wasn't the description of, one of our neighborhoods. And I say our as in people of color. And then, so I was like, okay, well, and she was like, well, now I'm going to go to a grocery store in a good neighborhood. Grocery store in a good neighborhood. I'm like, okay, so which one you was going to? The one she decided that she told me about wasn't in one of our neighborhoods. And then I was like, okay, I picked up on that conversation real quick. And then she was like, I was like, what schools? I said, if you had to choose a good school for your kids to go to, where would they end up? In the description of the school she offered, guess what?
Not our neighborhood.
Not really one of our neighborhoods. So, people of my complexion, I want to ask you guys, for us in our neighborhood, what's really good? What's really happening out there in our neighborhoods?
Yeah, it makes sense, too, because people always want to talk about the community, what we need to do for our community and do better in XYZ. And I agree. We need to do better in our community. We need to protect our community, take care of our kids, our families, businesses, all those things, right? Mm-hmm. I agree. 10,000%. We should. But as soon as someone is in a financial place where they could do something for the community, they leave the community.
Wait, but where do they leave? Why do they leave the community?
Because they believe where they're at is not great. It's not good, beneficial for themselves or for their kids. So they'll take their kids to another community, which is already thriving, right?
That they consider better.
A better community, and live there, pay the taxes there, and all other things there in that community. So with that being said, how is the original community going to get better if we're taking out all the resources that we have to other communities? Like, think about it for a second. I mean, people who, let's say, become famous, rich, whatever, and I get it. They leave the community, right? They go to, and we understand because depending on how much money you may make or where you might be, you may not want to be in the same location because people might look at you like, okay, he's a quick meal to eat. Meaning that I can get robbed easily. I know where you live and you know to do this. I get that, right? But you could definitely move away but still take care of your community, but they don't.
Yep. I want to add one thing.
Go ahead.
When they crash and burn, hopefully they won't, but if they ever crash and burn, where do they end up at?
They go right back to the same community where they started, but while they was hot, making money, doing X, Y, Z, whatever it may be, whatever field they in, music, rapper, sports, whatever, work, doesn't matter what they on, they never stay in their community.
They never paid it back. They never paid it forward.
But they will come back afterwards
And
chill on the block with the homies or chill with X, Y, Z. But I'm like, where was you at when you was on tour and stuff? When we seen you on TV, where was you at? And so the point that we're trying to get here, and because we're not really talking about celebrities here, we're just talking about people in general.
We're talking about us, just us.
The average person, the middle class person that, you know what I'm saying? And I can say we all felt guilty to that to a certain extent, right? Because I moved to another state, so I don't know what the community is where I'm at. I bought a house that looked good, felt good, looks good. Hey, I moved there. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that how are we improving our own community if we're quick to leave the community every time?
Well, and I agree. Once again, by the way, if you harken back to our earlier show this year, like we spoke, security blankets. All right, this is part of that. Just to be honest, is if you move out your mom's house, the old hood you grew up in. The only time we ever see you only show up to show off your good, nice car and everything. If your mom still lived there, that's still your hood, and that hood needs stuff. And this ain't just about man or woman. Even though I am, of course, being a men's channel, I have to point out some obvious things. But yeah, we have to learn to take care of what's ours, even if you get something else. Just because you moved forward. No, let me fix this. If you look at life as a game of chess, just because you moved forward in the game, you don't uncover your queen. You don't leave your king undefended. You make sure that you protect what's important to you in the background, no matter where you move forward to in life. Most of us, and I'm going to say us because I'm most likely guilty of it too, when we move forward, we pack up everything and leave. But the moment something happens and we fall, and most people do fall, hardly ever does anyone take off like a rocket and fly to the moon on their first try. You end up back in the hood, most likely worse off than you were when you left.
Yeah.
We got to stop that. Once again, ladies, gentlemen, what's really good? What's really good about being black? What's really good about the places we've been, and why don't we fix them when we leave?
Also, I want to add one thing too. Earlier you said in the conversation, this is a man channel. Yes, it is. But let's be very clear. We would love to have a female guest. And you don't have to be here. You can call in. You have a number, you can call in. You can be here. The show is every Sunday, 3 p.m.-ish. Okay? So you're more than welcome to be here. We'll never exclude any woman from being on the show. Ladies always telling me, you got to invite me on the show. You got to invite me on the show. I said, I have the show every Sunday, 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is call in. So it's there. I don't have to actually invite you. I said, you can come in anytime and be a part of the conversation. But I just want to put it out there. So once again, follow us, YouTube, Instagram, The Chop Team, email thechopteam@gmail. If you want to be on the show or whatever, just tune into the show. We do live recording. Today's Sunday. The episodes drop on Monday on the major platforms. But if you want to be a part of the show, just tune in. We don't exclude no women. Trust me, we want you on the show. And we're not going to jump on you neither. We're neutral, but we will, of course, we'll lean more to the men's side because we're men. Just like you're a woman, you're going to lean more to the woman's side. Yep. But at the same time, we like to hear the conversation on both ways. We don't want to be like, men this, man. No, it don't work that way. We just want to be honest and fair across the board. Back to our scheduled public conversation.
Yeah. And I want to add a small, tiny disclaimer at the bottom that I am going to learn. I'm going to say that I'm going to meet you with the energy you provide. So I am the dark child for a reason, but I'm also a pretty nice guy. As long as we all playing by the same set of rules. Okay? So back now. Totally
back now. Already backed up.
So
again, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so seriously. Not pointing any fingers yet. But so your neighborhoods, right? The hood that you grew up in. I have some strong beliefs about why our hood looks the way it does. But it doesn't mean it can't be fixed. Once again, how come all the worst neighborhoods in America are either black or Hispanic?
It's designed that way.
No.
You don't think?
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When you say designed that way,
I'm referring to like the red line.
Okay, no.
They put us in places where we have to be together at all times, but also they limit the resources that we have. And then
I agree.
And then also, before you jump in, but also that I'm not saying that we're brainwashed, but we've been believed or taught that, hey, once you are able to get out this current situation that you're in, you leave this area and never come back.
And who taught that?
Our parents, but they were told from their parents, and it was told from other parents, but it started somewhere. I'm going to go back to slavery. But go ahead.
Well, see, that, I mean.
Maybe that's too far back.
Yeah, because we, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, black people actually took care of ourselves.
You know what? I pull back I rescind what I just stated, because we did have Black Wall Street, which was designed by all black people. We have multiple black.
A lot. We can talk about Oscarville, Atlanta, Chicago, North Carolina.
If you want to know about black successful communities, right? If you don't know, I'm going to help you out here. It's so easy. You can't. If you want to know about all black successful communities in the past, just look at all the in the United States terrorist attacks.
That'll do.
Oh. Every black community that has been created in the United States by black Americans, African, brown, whatever the case may be, has been destroyed, bombed, shot, torn apart from the inside. We have our own wars in our own United States.
Yeah.
So when people say, won't you do our own thing? We have tried to do our own thing.
We have.
Every time we try to do something, y'all shut it down.
They do.
They even, think about this, the Black Party Panther, the Black Party, the Black Party Panther happened in L.A. They weren't designed as a group to fight against everyone else. They was a group designed to help the community and protect the community.
Which they did.
Yep. But they got torn apart from the inside out, and we know why. Money involved, XYZ. They killed the leaders, and now that group we had to protect our women and children, XYZ, is no longer there no more.
And they demonized it.
Exactly. And they made it, a terrorist group or a hate group, whatever. Yep. Mm-hmm. But we still have the big K's 3 times still out there.
Yeah, see, well.
But I'm not trying to get off something. Just let you know about the communities. Like, we have done this. So it's not, I want to retract what I just said. We do have successful black communities that were created, just destroyed. But go ahead. Well, and they use fear tactics, so that's why you haven't really seen it again, because people are feared.
That's it. But once again, I'm not a Kanye West fan at all. But he was like, when he said slavery is a choice, I disagree with that. But a lot of these things we do are choices, and I've said this on multiple podcasts, and I'll keep saying it because it keeps being true. If you change the narrative, you take away my ability to make this. If you make a statement that I say false, I won't say it anymore. I'm not here to lie. All right. So our communities, right? When we get rich, the first thing, if we get any kind of success, the first thing we want to do is get the blank out of Dodge. But even for the bad guys in the neighborhood, because we can talk about it, Bumpy Johnson in New York was a gangster. He was a gangster, but he took care of the neighborhood so good that the neighborhood would not turn on him. Why? Because he took from the neighborhood. I'm not putting him up as a paragon of virtue. He took from the neighborhood, but he made sure he fed back in it, even if it was just to protect himself. I knew a guy, honestly, really knew a guy. He was scamming. That's what he was doing. He was scamming. This dude had $1 million on the floor of his house when the FBI kicked in his door. $1 million. He went to jail, did his time. When he got out, he was back in the hood. What did you? I was like, dude, there was so many different things you could have did with that million. How in the world did you lose $1 million in a raid? Why did you have $1 million in one place at one time? But because he couldn't trust the hood, and he couldn't share with the hood, he couldn't let the hood know what he was doing. So when the police came, they took the money because, hey, it's money. That money's out of the hood. Brother, there's so many different things you could have did. You could have at least paid off your mama's house. I know it sounds crazy, but you could have at least paid off your mother's house. It was ill-gotten gains, but now when you came back, you struggling to keep a roof over your mama's head. Why?
And then one thing we said earlier in the show today, we said, what people do when they're on top, they leave. They traveling. They got the big houses in California, big places, more expensive place, right? They living it up, having a good life. But then when they hit hard times, where do they come back to?
Straight back to the hood.
Straight back to the hood.
And then they come back worse than they were when they left. Because at least when you left, you drove your own car out. When you came back, you got dropped off in a cab from the jailhouse.
Taking the Uber or something, or a taxi. Well, probably a taxi.
Exactly.
He didn't know about. He probably don't know about Uber. He locked up so long, so he probably had to take a taxi. Like, taxi, you still use that? Okay, yeah, we'll take your money. That'd be $40.
Exactly.
Whatever case may be. But the point I'm making is, like we said earlier, that was a prime example of, we're not saying what he did was a good thing as far as drugs, XYZ. But what the one thing you want to take out of that is that if he would have took care of his business or took care of his community, right? Mm-hmm. And he could do it a smart way. But we're not here advocating how to get behind the scenes. We're just saying that he could have did this to where he came back home, he would have had something to fall back on. He had a house to live in. He had maybe some store, businesses, something he could have did with all that money instead of leaving $10 million in your house where where they raid your house. They're going to tear all your walls up. They're going to dig the floors up. They're going to dig your backyard. Like, all those things that you think they won't do, they've done it. So stop. Anyway, I'm not trying to educate you how to have money.
That's not what we're doing. We're doing any of that. No.
But once again, we're just talking about how's that helping the community. And it's the same thing when it comes to politics and everything else. You might grew up in Decatur, Georgia, as a grew up young. Then when you become a politician, now you're in Fulton County, but you do nothing for Decatur where you grew up from.
Exactly.
You didn't do nothing for it that made you who you are.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying you got to go. If the mayor of Decatur, if you're in a high place, these are all fictional stuff. These are all
hypotheticals.
Yeah. But I'm saying that if I was someone, right, because I don't know. I could be on to something and I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
I don't know any politicians personally, none of that, but I'm just giving an example. So if I grew up in Decatur, Georgia, Decatur was greater, right?
Yes,
and then
sir.
all of a sudden I'm a big politician and now I live in Fulton County, right? And I'm running this, doing that. Just on the strength of where I came from, I'm going to still try to have a relationship with the mayor or whoever is running over Decatur. Not saying I have to, but I'm going to make an effort. Hey, I'm from Decatur, and I just want to show my support because I already have a big following, a big group, so I want to help you out any way I can just to show my support for my community. I want to give back to my community. So me being here, XYZ, anything you need me to do. If you need to come in and speak, XYZ, run a help campaign, because I can get more people over here. That's what I'm talking about, giving back to the community. So you move out, you still can go back and help out, especially if you have that type of power.
Exactly.
And once again, I said a politician because I don't want to talk about these rappers and sports people who do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about everyday people. Because there's people I probably walk around every day who makes millions of dollars I would never know because they're not in the spotlight and they're not out there flowing the money around. But they could easily help their own community where they came from instead of turning their back and be like, oh man, well, they better do what I did. I get out the mud and I leave. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, that's like, I hate that sentence. That's one of my most hated sentences.
It is.
You should have did what I did.
Should have did what I did, or or they gotta figure out on their own. And that's the one thing that hinder us as a black community as a whole.
Yep.
Instead of telling our younger generation of things that they should and should not do, or at least giving them advice and put a decision on them, and still give them a heads up like, hey, I'm gonna recommend XYZ. What we do? Oh, he gotta figure out for himself, like I did.
Oh my God.
That has to be the most selfish.
And that's the most damaging.
And damaging thing that's done to the community is not sharing your personal knowledge because you don't want to. I'll tell you exactly what it is, ladies and gentlemen. In the black community, I've learned over these years, being 40, because I'm 40 now, welcome to the club. I learned over these 40 years that when it comes to my brothers and sisters, we don't want to see the next person shine. So instead of me giving information that might help you move further in life, I'm going to keep it to myself because if I tell you this, what you going to do for me? And sometimes it don't got to be what you do for me. If I want to see the next person be successful in their business, whatever, I'm going to tell them. And if they want to bless me, cool. If they not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get blessed somehow. It's going to come back around. But we want to keep the information to ourselves and be like, you got to figure it out on your own, set the dark child.
Well,
like people, one last thing. People ask me all the time, Twins, man, can you help me get started with podcast? I'm like, sure, it's easy. I tell them, like, listen, you don't got to buy all the equipment that I have. Start with a cell phone. If you look at me and Set the Dark Child's Veil back in 2019, we're in my unfinished basement. We had a green thing up. We had cell phones all over, cameras all over the place. And that's how we started. But you can start anywhere, and I'll have no problem with sharing the knowledge and how to get started. I'm not going to say, hey, you need to figure it out. Go and watch YouTube. You know what I'm saying? It's there. Granted, it is. But I watch. That's how I learn. But now I can tell you personally how you can get started.
Exactly.
That's sharing the knowledge. And I don't care if the next person I talk to who knew podcast blows up and never writes for the show. I'm happy for them. Maybe that was my goal, to help them out and not route and jump off better than me. There's no hate. Not at all. I don't even care. Like, hey, congratulations. I got to keep grinding so I can get there next.
Exactly.
That's all.
And I just want to add a few things to that once again.
Yeah.
I just specifically for the podcast or whatever. Listen, if I don't consider myself original, if I say something, it's too many people out there doing too much content for me to think I'm original.
Right.
Even though I might not have watched it, might not know who they are, it's too many people. There's nothing original to be said, most likely. So if I hear something that I know I said, I'm not going to be around talking about, oh, he stole from me. Bruh. The English, it's too many people doing this. If me and you say, and if you do use my line, even if you don't give me a shout out, I'm just glad you listened to what I said. I'm glad I said something you appreciate it enough to borrow. I'm okay with that.
Just think about Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah, once again, this dude, all of this, ain't nothing new about nothing we say that ain't over 10, 12 years old. Patrice O'Neal and Chris Rock pretty much said everything we saying now. But I just want to add that. Second part, the other thing about giving back to the community. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the drug dealers and the scam artists. Nah, that's fine. If they don't give back to the community, that's almost fine. My problem is the fact that if I get a job making more than $10 an hour, the first thing I want to do is move to Buckhead, or I want to move to Alpharetta instead of staying in my neighborhood and improving my neighborhood, improving the tax base for my school.
That's it, the taxes.
Okay,
and stuff.
so now I'm about to talk about schools,
yes.
right?
Go ahead.
Like in certain school districts, you have parents who donate to the school. This is above and beyond the taxes that they pay. In Alpharetta, somebody in that neighborhood for what was it, Alpharetta High School or whatever it was, they donated an entire computer lab to the school. I don't know, bruh. Listen, an entire computer lab. The screens, the networking, the installation,
and then someone to hire to work to maintenance it. Right,
exactly.
2 people.
And even if they didn't, if the school had to say, okay, we'll hire, if you give us $250,000 worth of equipment, we'll put somebody on payroll to maintain it. But you were never going to get that from the county, so thank you. And they might already have somebody on staff because it's a high school, probably teaching AP computer science, that can maintain it and that can run it. A little bit extra money in his pocket. Doesn't matter. That's giving back to your school that got nothing to do with you. But our schools, once again, the moment we make enough money to move out of our neighborhoods, we go find a neighborhood that happens to have people of a lighter complexion. All the good schools happen to be in lighter complected people neighborhoods. Instead of you investing in the school in your neighborhood, you move from the community and the school into their neighborhood. So you just made their neighborhood better. That's what we do. We leave our neighborhood for better things without actually thinking we should invest in our own betterment. It's so many examples of this. You about to say?
No, I agree with you saying because, schools, that's a huge one right there. You look at it, right? I think you said something earlier about kids going to a better school, right? Better location. Well, those schools that we consider better, the reason why they're better because they're getting a lot of resources. With the more people who live in the community, that's more money that's being fed in through the school with taxes. There's more jobs, more stores, more things being open in our community, and it makes it thriving, right? Mm-hmm. If we would keep that and stay in our own community, those taxes would get paid to our schools there. We will have more money to hire more teachers. Go ahead.
Well, I want to take taxes off the table.
Yeah.
Because we're poor. Well, most of us are poor, but we have money for Jordans and stuff. No. It's one thing to get tax money. I give you that. But it's a whole nother thing for you to, once again, if you can tithe to a church, if you can tithe to a church, that ain't got nothing to do with taxes paid. That's tithing. You could give some money to your first grade teacher so that you don't have a list this big of school supplies. Have you ever looked at the school supply list?
Oh, I know, because my wife is a huge part of going to the schools and buying what you need. My wife will bring extra materials for schools, or mainly for the classes our kids are in, right? But on
And
top of that,
if every parent did it, that'd be great.
right. On top of the minimum, she bring extra stuff in to help out because she knows. But you're right though. You're huge.
And that's one of the points. Once again, what's really good? Why aren't we having this? I don't care. We can always have this man and woman stuff. I'm not talking about how kids raised and everything. If you live in that neighborhood, my ex-wife and me and her have had our differences. We're not that kind of, we're not enemies. But I used to tell her, ask the teachers for my kids what she needed. If she need composition books, I'm not rich or nothing like that, but I can go buy an extra 50, 70-page composition books. That you were like, oh, that's a lot. No, another 50 might be what, $30?
Yeah.
And I'll just take it to her. So some kids in the class
who don't have it
can have some composition books.
Exactly. Also, think about this too. When the pandemic first happened,
mm-hmm.
and everybody was remote from home, school, online learning. There were some kids out there who did not have a laptop mm-hmm. or anything to do at home. On top of that, some didn't even have internet at home to do that, mm-hmm. right? And it was all over the news. Now, so where I live, they were able to give kids those things who didn't have it. They gave them a laptop or a Google Chromebook, whatever, with a Wi-Fi, so they got internet for that, just designed for that, right? But there were some other schools, and I'm going to say Decatur because a lot of people know about Decatur as far as it's well known.
If y'all haven't guessed this, we live in Metro Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah. So, but nothing wrong with Decatur. I'm using an example. So, shout out to Decatur. All my people out there, Decatur was greater. If you're from Georgia or know anybody, you know that saying all the time. Decatur was greater. Salute.
Lifetime graded, baby.
But I'm just using an example. I can say anywhere else. Stone Mountain, whatever. Doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is in those areas, I heard that they couldn't do nothing for the kids, meaning that they couldn't give laptops and things out to those kids because they didn't have it to give. Mm-hmm. But remember, we was talking about how one school in Alpharetta donated a whole computer lab of computers, a whole lab. Just, hey, we can y'all new computers and everything. And let me ask you this. The computers that campus already had the old ones, what did you think they did with those old ones? I know what they did with them. They threw them away. Instead of, you know what, let me donate these to other schools who may not have them.
They probably don't do that.
They don't do that. They throw them away. I know this because I work for a school, and they throw them right out. I'm like, hell, let me get the parts right there before you throw it out. You know what I'm saying? But anyway. Mm-hmm. So.
Just buy new books.
Yeah.
But, but once again, I'm throwing that out because we always talking about community. It starts small. It starts, take care of your school. Honestly, if you can buy Jordans, I've seen people live in one of the worst apartment complexes I've ever been in. I drove to this apartment complex. This is no joke. I swear to God, it might be a little bit of exaggeration, but I'm going to try not to.
Okay.
I've never been scared to drive through a complex before. I saw people in the doorways, and they look like, if you ever read science fiction, they look like Morlocks from like the H.G. Wells, the Time Machine book. They look like straight people in the doorway. It was frightening to see these people in the doorways. It was a horrible neighborhood.
Just hanging out, looking to see what's going on.
Disregard the fact that I saw a Mercedes in that community. And it wasn't the first time I had seen it.
And it wasn't touched or damaged neither.
Okay. If you can afford a Mercedes in this community, you could probably have afforded to buy some school books or pay for some lunches for some kids to not be hungry. It's charity starts at home, and your home is supposed to be your community, not just your house.
Let me take another step here.
Sure, go.
Think about it. Most of athletes, and I'm not just hear me out for a second. Most of these young athletes, before they even get to college, whatever, usually live in these tough neighborhoods, right? Mm-hmm. And they get recruited by these big colleges, right? Mm-hmm. So camera people following them. And they could be a sophomore, this sensation. He's going to be a future #1 pick in XYZ, right? Mm-hmm. And what normally happens is, though, when you have a student or a child who's a top athlete and they're in, let's say, a predominant poor area, what they sometimes do is they'll take that kid from that area and move it to another community, right? Mm-hmm. And now that community is now in the spotlight. But the problem with that is that kid was a resource that you took from one community to another community, which was already thriving.
And you took it to exploit him. Exactly.
I'll give you a prime example. Salute to King James, LeBron James. Listen, his son, even the Jordan sons, doesn't matter. This is an example. Mm-hmm. Anywhere they went, camera people were there. Everything, everybody and their mama was there just to see the son. Mm-hmm. They might see the dad in the stands, but the fact that his sons were playing, those stadiums were packed out. Mm-hmm. So, but if you take them from a low-end school to a high-end school, that additional money they was paying at the door to get to the low end, now it's double. Oh, you want to pay, is you $25? Oh, well, LeBron James' son's here this week, so it's going to be $100 per ticket. And guess what? People pay the $100 tickets just to see a high school kid play. Mm-hmm. That's money that that goes towards it goes to all the funding of the kids traveling, the buses, the clothes, X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. But if you kept that kid in that same location, he was still who he is. People was coming to see him regardless of who he was. Mm-hmm. You could have kept that money in that community, in that school, in that gym, all that stuff. But what we do, we take it from over here and move over here.
Yep.
So how's that helping the community? And I get it. You want to do better for your kid. I understand that. But if your son or daughter is already phenomenal and their current location where they at now, mm-hmm. you keep them there because they're not going to fall short because they're playing somewhere else. If they're being recruited and they're going to a low-end school, keep them there. It's going to help them out in the community out, and they'll get a lot of support from everything else.
Exactly. I'm
just giving you an example because people do that. People will move their kids. It's funny how other schools be recruiting other kids to come to their school. Like mm-hmm. this happening now. It was like a laughable thing when I was coming up. But now high schools, middle school be recruiting kids from other community. Hey, we'll get your family this house to live here in XYZ, or we want your son to come play here.
Yep. And that is happening.
And now it's taken away from the community because that person was a future star. And mm-hmm. and on top of that, we ain't even talking about the mental the kid's going through. He probably grew up with his friends from kindergarten all the way up, and now they have plans. Oh, man, our senior year, we're going to this, and that. But now you're being forced to move over here because maybe they're giving mommy a free house in XYZ. Or you got to just play sports here. But, Mom, I'm going to miss my friends. Forget them friends. That's a whole nother conversation, another mental thing going on. And once again, we're taking resources away. So once again, we're having a conversation about how are we going to improve the community if we don't take care of the community, if we leave the community.
Listen, I'm just going to say some ground level things.
Yeah.
Because I find that most people are very selfish right now. Most of us are very selfish. When I pressure wash my carport in the driveway, my neighbor is an older white man. He is an older gentleman. I pressure washed his. I didn't charge him money. When I pull down my trash, I pull down his. It's not because I'm subservient or some bootlick or some crap like that. This dude is real old. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I've spoken to him and I know where his mind is at, he definitely old enough to have thrown rocks at Martin Luther King. All right, so I'm not giving him no pass on that. My neighbor across the street, she's a black woman. She gives a blank. She cares nothing. She only cares about herself. She take care of herself. She don't talk to nobody. She don't do nothing for nobody that I've ever seen her do in our community. I've walked my neighborhood. I'll take a trash bag and I'll pick up trash around the neighborhood. It's another guy from Africa down the street.
From Africa?
Yeah. I don't want to. I can't really tell you what country. He told me.
That's cool.
That's my fault. But he told me, me and him is cool. Mm-hmm. He and I have picked up more. It's 115 units in my particular community. He and I probably have picked up more trash than all our other neighbors combined. But you choose where you live. You choose where you live looks. I can take care of my yard, but it's more helpful to me to have my neighbor's yard looking decent too. If he could take care of himself, I'd talk to him about it. But he's old, pretty much broke. He's getting by on Social Security. He can't do it. It costs me effort. It costs me effort to be nice. But what else I was going to do when I got finished doing mine? Go home and go in the house and play my Xbox?
Sounds good, yeah.
I can sacrifice a couple hours of time that I was going to burn slaying zombies. Cleaning up the neighborhood. You choose even if you're broke. This is when the real question, like what's really good. Even if you live in a very, very, very poor neighborhood, I can see redlining. I can see the fact that redistricting, the fact that they've bombed our neighborhoods. I can see all of that. It happened. But I also know that if you walk by a soda can on the side of the road outside of your house or in front of your neighbor's house, if you walk by it, you chose to leave that there. It ain't about the person who chose to throw it out the window. Mm-hmm. It's your choice to leave it there. And then 2 weeks later, when you see it's a water bottle beside the beer bottle because rain done washed everything to that one spot, now you got a little bit more trash. And you saw it. You have a choice you can make, and you chose to leave it. Our neighborhoods are our decisions, regardless of what these people of lighter complexions have done to us. How we live in our neighborhood is our choice.
Yeah, we have to care. That's it right there. We have to first care. And I think that's where the problem is. Like, I don't care about this. No.
I'm going to just take care of mine.
No. Listen. If you live in a bad area, you take care of that bad area. You take whatever you have, make it look good.
That's all.
That's it.
Put in a little work.
You put a little work in, and you stay. Listen, I challenge anyone. I don't care if you're rich or poor, whatever you at, wherever you live at, make it look good, and you stay consistent with it. What's going to happen? Your neighbor's going to see what you're doing. Man, his yard looking good every time I look out there. And what's going to happen? Eventually, someone's going to start doing it. Mm-hmm. It may not be the person next door to you. You know, you want to be that person next to you. It might be somebody down the street from you who always walking by like, man, your always look nice. Baby, we got to make sure our house looks nice, too. I don't care about no one else. They look nice. Mm-hmm. What's stopping them from doing it? And then eventually, people will get on ship and start doing it. Even with stepdaughter child, if he really out there consistently out there picking up trash, someone's going to see it. A parent's going to see it driving by. I'm like, yo, if you have kids, if you're walking down the street, don't be throwing no trash down. You put it, or you see it, pick it up, X, Y, Z. Don't be making a mess out there. And it got to start with someone. That's taking the leadership. Somewhere. And once it starts, someone else going to pick it up. Will it be right away? No. Do we want it to be right away? Yeah.
Yes.
Of course we do. But it got to start somewhere. You be the difference. I'm looking at you. Be the difference.
Yeah, it has to start somewhere. You got to make, and this is for everything. Even schools. Your kids, if the kids in your school, you might be really broke and poor. I'm not gonna knock that, but if your kids is working out of school books that was printed in 1961, I mean, let's be real. Did you need them, Jordan? Did you need a 70-inch TV? I'm not saying you can't have what you earn and what you pay for, but if you don't give back to your community, stop complaining when that community gives you its butt to kiss. All right? We choose where we live regardless of what somebody else does to it. That's my hammered in fact. You choose your neighborhood. So when I ask what's really good, you got to ask yourself that. And if you happy moving out of your hood, leave and shut up. Just let it go. You know what? Gone. If you I don't want to keep throwing out rich, famous people. Snoop, his son wanted to play baseball. He actually paid for the baseball or softball program for the entire park. So he didn't do it for the entire county, but he did it for the entire park. If one celebrity picked one park, all the parks would have had excellent teams, excellent situations. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much it costs, but he's Snoop. It's going to be negligible. Same for LeBron. Same for Oprah. Oprah, I'm not saying that they're not doing this. I'm saying we, as our community, are responsible for us. And we have way too much money in the black community for us never to actually have any of the best schools, the best neighborhoods, the best churches. We don't have none of that trash. But we make too much money. How we got this many rich people who ain't got, and we still ain't got nothing to show for it? That's a choice. Individuals make choices that affect the group all day, every day. We can do better.
Listen, and we're not telling anyone to go out there and spend all their money and try to be Snoop Dogg or anyone out there. You can start
Wait. Try to be Snoop Dogg. Yo, support yourself. Go for the goal. Okay, go ahead.
What we're saying is that, listen, even if you can help one more child.
One.
You know what I'm saying? If your child has a zoo trip, right? Mm-hmm. And tickets are like $15, right? Mm-hmm. And you have $60 to spare. Hey, this is for someone else who can't do it. Or if y'all need anything additional, here's $60. Additional on top of me paying for my child. Because then again, you might be able to pay for another child without even asking. And then when that happens, like, oh, yeah. Oh, you can't have it. Don't worry. We got your child covered. We had some parents who gave additional to cover for any kid good. And our parent like, wow, somebody really did that? And they don't got to know who the person is. But what happens is they may do something to bless someone else while they're trying.
They might pay it forward.
I mean, easily. If you driving through, let's say, McDonald's or something, and you're in line, like, how much is my order? All right. How much order behind me? All right, pay for this too as well.
Yeah. I tend to pick. I know what you're saying. I tend to pick who I'm randomly.
I mean, I use an example, whatever.
I know, but even my son, what you just said, I didn't know this. Of course, my son has some friends. Some of his best friends. My son got a group of friends that it's about 7 of them. You know, some of his friends got 0 for Christmas.
Oh wow.
One of his friends got a car. One of his friends got nothing because times was hard. Right. I'm not saying this right. I'm saying that's a huge discrepancy. I'm glad you can give your son a car. I am, and I'm not knocking it. Nope. You know what? But there should be some acts of charity for your community built into it. If you can afford to go that big, you can do something small, even if it involves paying some kids to come over to your house to watch your cars. Give them something to do that they can make a few dollars for themselves. Just my opinion.
So, ladies and gentlemen, unless you have anything else, we probably wrap this one up.
Yeah,
you have another point you want to hit on?
No, I think I just, once again, folks, what's really good? I would really like our neighborhoods to fall into that list of things that y'all consider really good more often than they do. That's all I got to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. This is the Chop Team Twins Inc. with Seth the Dark Child.
Yes, sir.
Follow us on major platforms. The Chop Team searches for us. Once again, every Sunday, 3 p.m.-ish, we have shows. Now, next week or so, we may not have because Seth got some things going on, but we'll still have an episode drop as well. So tune in, tap in, let us know how you feel. And we out.
Peace.